I grew up inside of a real-life cult. This is a story including how I built the life I have today and how I have a career working in AI. When I was 21 years old in 2012, I escaped my father's cult in the middle of the night. True story. I literally packed up the car I had just bought with cash, thanks to my writing income, and got out of there in the middle of the night. It was one of the scariest things I've ever done, and also one of the best things, because whenever I drove away, that was the day I began carving the path to freedom, the path I have today, to live the life I want to live, to build a beautiful and better future, not just for myself, but the thousands and hopefully one day millions of people I can impact. When I've studied some of the greatest names in writing and coaching, like Tony Robbins, J.K. Rowling, they went through horrific trauma, and that trauma shaped them into the person they were meant to be. I escaped in 2012. It's been 11 years since I've been out. I had a sister that escaped with me. I brought her out of that cult, gave her a seat in my car, but she is not living the life I live today. I believe that healing is a choice. Trauma reveals the truth of who you really are, because you can choose to do two things. You can succumb and live in a comfortable zone, the one you were used to forever, or you can take all the lessons, all that failure, and you can make the greatest comeback known to mankind, the one where you build your life and create something out of nothing. Because you have the vision, and that vision is literally all you have. When I started my writing business, I was living inside of my father's cult. I had $75 in the bank. I took that $75, shut down my bank account, and built my first website. That was at 19 years old. At 21, I had a wake-up call when my father wrote me a letter saying I shouldn't have been born. I was a total disappointment. A light bulb went off in my head, and I asked myself, why am I even here if he doesn't even think I should exist? His goal was total control, which he'd been successful at for 21 years, but it backfired. I began to see the truth, and that year I got out. Getting out of that toxic environment was step one. There's no way I could have built the life I have today if I stayed there. In the 21 years in that environment, the reality I lived in was sometimes so hard that it drove me to seek out a second reality, which is the one I created through my words, through books. Those encounters of trauma actually drove me to find my passion early, and I wrote my first 200-page book at the age of 12. There are lessons that only pain can teach us, because when we're comfortable, we're often not driven to seek out what it is we really want in life. It's only when we get uncomfortable, when pain and hardship knocks at our door, that we really ask ourselves, what matters to me? What is it I really want to do with the rest of my life? One of the hardest choices you can ever make after trauma is to heal from it. When you go through something like 21 years in a cult, you either make a comeback or you make a shutdown. Only the strong people choose to heal, because healing is actually one of the hardest choices you will ever make. You have to rewire your brain. You have to completely change your perspective, not just on life, but yourself. And you have to do the work to heal. You have to admit that you're a hurt person, and you have to heal from those wounds. If you've experienced a hardship, I'd love to hear in the comments how you came back. After I escaped, I really didn't think I'd ever be on stage. I didn't think I'd ever write a book, even though those were all dreams in my heart. I have faced every single one of my fears head on. I've stepped far outside my comfort zone, and it has paid off every time. The truth is, trauma doesn't break us, and it doesn't stop our chances of success. In fact, I think we can find out who we are through that pain and turn it into our greatest weapon for success, the ability to face fear. Resistance and failure are the instruments of growth. You can't have that multi-million-dollar business without going through either resistance or failure. If you're in the middle of hardship, maybe you're facing a job loss, a career change, a pivot, the question you should be asking yourself right now is, how hard are you willing to fight for the life that you have pictured, for the future you've always wanted? Because it'll come down to that. Those that don't give up and stay the path are the people that see the results. And what I went through for 21 years has made me a very resilient person. But that's a choice, right? I choose to look at it that way instead of that made me a very broken person. I could be saying one of those two very different things right now. It's all in how you see life and what you went through. The day after I escaped from the cult, I had this renewed energy to start working on my little writing business. I had been so throttled, so cut off from all chances of success in that environment, that the first day out was like a breath of fresh air. And every single day was a small step forward, not just in healing from trauma, but building the future I really wanted. One of the most critical things I have seen in the last 11 years of my journey to where I am today. In 2021, I sold my writing agency for over $1 million, had an almost $3 million year. Have written 8 books, some of which have reached over 500,000 people in a single weekend. One of the most critical things in my journey was setting a vision. I did that from the very beginning. I still have the journals that I wrote in when I was 21 years old, escaping my father's cult. Back in 2013, when I was 22 years old, I said this: I will be a millionaire or make $1 million by the age of 30. I will sell my writing agency for at least $1 million. When I was 31, I had a $2.9 million year, and that wasn't gross income. That was actual cash in the bank. I'm telling you, setting a vision is critical to your destiny. If you don't write it down, if you don't tell the world, if you don't hold yourself accountable to your own vision, then you're an entrepreneur without a compass. You're a creator without direction. Set your direction, and you will see it through. Your subconscious does more than half the work to make that possible. All you got to do is keep walking the right path. And for me, my compass has always been peace. What brings me peace? What aligns with my values? My values aren't rooted in making a ton of money. My values are rooted in impact. But guess what? Impact takes money. You can't impact millions of people. You can't build the economy. You can't build housing for victims of religious abuse, which is something my cause at the Woman Rising Project aims to do one day. You can't do any of that without money. Some books that have been critical to my journey are these 3. The Bible, surprisingly, yes, this shocks most people, but I found God when I left the cult. I have read this Bible, which is now getting pretty worn, every single day for the last 3 years. The Word of God is living, and let me tell you, it is life. And when I left religion, that's when I found Jesus. A couple other books that have really impacted my life: Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This one, I feel like people either love or hate, but let me tell you, the concepts in here are true. You can literally think and grow rich. And some of the techniques that you learn as you read the stories of the greats, like Edison, Carnegie, you find out what kind of businesses and what kind of empires really make you wealthy. This book, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, is simply a classic. The same exact concepts in Think and Grow Rich, with the premise being you can literally think and grow rich. It's funny because even the Bible says, right, as a man thinketh, so is he. Here's the truth. We all have opportunity. And for most of us, we've all gone through trauma. We have that in common. The question now is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to shut down, give up, fold the towel, say, this is it, this is all life has to offer? Or are you going to make that comeback? And a comeback after trauma is the greatest comeback any of us could ever do. Because I'm a risk taker, I'm somebody who escaped my father's cult in the middle of the night, got out of there, packed up as many clothes as I could fit in my little sedan, and said, let me figure out a new normal, no matter how scary or how hard or how difficult this might be. I'm telling you, taking one risk makes the next one and the next one and the next one easier. And that's why I sold my writing agency in 2021 at the height of its income, when it was making $40,000 in 1 week. And it was a literal cash cow. And I had people telling me, why are you selling this? And then the next year, 2022, I consulted, I taught people, I coached, and I learned what GPT was about to do. I can tell you, even though I was scared in the middle of all of my decisions, terrified, I have never regretted them. Escaping that cult allowed me to build the life I can now live. Testing my limitations allowed me to give my first keynote, and selling that writing agency allowed me to pivot. And in January of this year, 2023, find the AI company being built that will completely replace the job of the long-form SEO writer. And that AI writer, I believe, is content at scale. In those 2 years of transition, right after selling my agency, coaching, consulting, and learning what AI was about to do, I was journaling. And you know what I wrote in my journal? I wrote consistently from 2021 to 2023 that I would be a part of a $100 million venture and nothing less. So I went from journaling that I would be a millionaire by the age of 30 to this: I will acquire $100 million. I will do so by the time I am 41, and it will be through software. That's pretty crazy, but I'm telling you, if you set your vision, you can literally write down your dreams right now and commit to them, no matter how hard or how scary it seems. Take it from me, somebody who used to live in a cult with parents that had no money. We had an empty fridge, sometimes nothing for dinner, to being able to build a $5 million business out of my last $75, and now being part of AI in what I believe will be a $100 million, if not a $1 billion venture. Set your compass in the direction of your vision. And for me, again, mine is not rooted in money, it's impact. But I know that to create that much impact, where I can help over 1 million people realize their dreams, find new opportunities in AI, shift and pivot into AIO, become the optimizers of the AI machine, and not lose out on opportunity. To be able to do that, that takes money. So be real with what you want. Don't shortchange yourself and walk in faith. Believe in a greater reality than the one you see. Because remember, this world was created by a God who makes big things possible. The only reason I share my story is in the hopes that it can help someone who's been through pain and trauma and heartache themselves realize that they are so much greater than that. They are so much greater than the lies that have been told to them. Like my father giving me a letter when I was 21 saying I was a waste of space on this earth. What a lie that was. And it's a good thing I didn't believe him and fold in. Throw in the towel, say, this is it, I'm done now. No, I challenged that lie, I escaped that cult, and here I am claiming my place in my career in AI 11 years later. You can redefine your destiny too. Doesn't have to be the one that you were told you should or shouldn't have. And if you're going through hardship, it doesn't have to be that either. It can be something so much greater. I'm going to end this with a request. I'd like to ask that you do not lose sight of your dreams. Because if you do, then the world will never experience what you have to offer. Don't give up on them. Don't shortchange yourself. And set your compass now so you can head in the direction of your vision. The truth is, trauma didn't change me. It just revealed who I could really be. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear what you went through. I love celebrating the stories of overcomers. So tell me a little bit about your story in the comments. I'd love to know. I'll see you right back here on our channel.